to Electric Gigi's Kitchen. Today I will be making mushroom burgers. So I have my baby portobellos, organic of course, and mushrooms, white organic mushrooms. We have onion, and you can use a red onion or a sweet yellow onion, whichever you like. I have my peppers, red, green, and orange. Sorry. I have my sweet peppers. I have fresh basil, fresh oregano, fresh tarragon. Smells wonderful. I'm going to do a little cayenne pepper, a little thyme, onion powder, garbanzo bean flour, sea moss, love this stuff, sea salt, and the grapeseed oil, not to go in the burgers, but just to grease the pan a little bit. I'm going to do mine a little different today. You can do them two ways. You can do them either in the oven or on the stove top, but today I'm going to do them in the oven. So let's get started. We're going to wash all our vegetables, and I'll show you how to do those, like how to wash the mushrooms. You don't want to immerse your mushrooms in water because it'll absorb the water. So I'll show you how to wash your mushrooms, and we're going to wash our peppers and our fresh herbs, and we'll get started. Okay, so we're going to wash our mushrooms, and what I usually do with the mushrooms is I take and just rub lightly, just to rub all the black stuff off, and put them inside the strainer. So we're just going to scrub lightly. And then typically, I don't know if you saw any of the other videos, I'm not a real measurer. I don't measure a lot, but hope you can hear me over the water. But we're going to use about, this was a small pack of organic mushrooms. So you can use, I'll count and see how many mushrooms I have, because it should render you about 4 good burgers. And if you make them smaller, then you'll probably get more mushrooms. But I like to use a blend of mushrooms, just so it can have a different taste. So that's all rinsed off. So I have about, let me see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, about 18 mushrooms in here. And it's the white mushroom, and then the baby portobello mushroom, organic. I'm going to set these aside. Just clean your bowl that you already had. Kind of rinse that off. We're going to set these aside. And then I'm going to rinse my fresh herbs off. I have a little garden in the house, so I'm just going to lightly rinse those off. They're in the house, so you really don't need to do much with those. Set those aside. And I will kind of lightly rinse my tarragon. Shake, shake, shake. That's what I do with the grandson. Shake, shake, shakes. Something that we do after he washes his hands. So we're just going to place those in the bowl. I don't have a lot, so if you want to use some of your dry herbs as well, you can do that. Your dry tarragon, but just remember, tarragon it has a strong taste, so you want to be careful. And then we have the oregano. I rinsed those off earlier, so we have the oregano as well. Now I do have a vegetable wash, and I pre-washed my peppers already. So I'm just going to set those aside. I did pre-wash those, but it's best to make sure you wash all of your vegetables off with either a vegetable wash, or you can do salt and water. You can rinse your vegetables off with salt and water as well, and that will take all that wax and stuff off of your vegetables. So now we have everything cleaned. We're going to chop. So what I usually do is I do my mushrooms first. And what I do is I take the bigger mushrooms and cut them in 4. And it's just easier in the Vitamix. And the smaller ones you can just kind of cut in half. So we're going to cut our mushrooms, because we're going to stick these in the Vitamix. Now the key to making excellent mushroom burgers that are not really mushy is not to mix the vegetables, the peppers and onions, with the bell peppers and with the mushrooms. So we're just going to chop these up. And you can I'm going to get a bigger bowl too to stick everything in, so I'll get that in a minute once I get all this chopped up. So we're just going to chop these up. So I have a food processor, which makes life a whole lot easier. So I hope you have a food processor as well, because it makes life a whole lot easier. And when we do the food processor, I'll show you how to do that also. So we're just going to stick everything back in the bowl because it makes it a little easier to put it in the food processor. And since we're cutting up everything, I'm going to cut up the peppers as well and then stick those back in the bowl. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to use all of the peppers. Just probably going to use a half the pepper. The bottom half, the top half, whichever one you would prefer to use. And we're just going to chop these in chunks, not real small, not real big. It depends on your food processor. I just don't want it to turn too mushy, because you know the peppers, they already have water in them naturally. So what happens is when you put it in a food processor, it tends to get watery. So that's why I chop it, and that's why I do it separately from the mushrooms also. And we're gonna just chop this, you know, just kind of chunky, put it back in the bowl and set it aside. Now I'm also going to do the sweet peppers as well, and this is just going to give it a different taste. And you don't have to do the whole sweet pepper. We're just going to do the bottom half of it, or the top half, whichever one you would prefer. I'm just going to chop these in semi-big, medium pieces. Stick that in the bowl. And then also with the peppers, I like to chop the onion with it. I hope I don't cry today. Didn't rinse my onion off under cold water. Or I'm not cutting it up under cold water either. I've been told I waste too much of my the onion, so I try not to peel too much back, just the first layer. And I love onions as well, so I'll probably use the whole onion. And this is just like a small to medium onion, but I do adore onions. So it's all about your preference, and I do know that the red onion gives it an excellent taste also. But this is the onion that we're choosing to use today. So you can use a combination of both the red and the sweet yellow or white onion, as long as it's organic. So like I said, we're going to do the mushrooms first. So we're just going to place some mushrooms into your food processor. Not a lot, because you want it to be able to mix well. And then you're just going to pulsate. You should have like an off pulsate button. So you're just going to pulsate. not turn it on because you don't want to pulverize your mushrooms. So we're just going to pulsate a few times, and then I'll show you what it's supposed to look like when we're done. Let it settle so that way the rest of the mushrooms can get down there. Okay, so that's it. And I'll show you what it's supposed to look like. And this is what it looks like. It's not pulverized, it's not liquid, it's just coarsely chopped. So I'm going to get a bigger bowl to put everything in. So you just take and you just dump it in your bowl. Make sure you get all of those mushrooms out of that food processor because you don't want the remaining mushrooms at the bottom to turn to liquid. And then we're going to do the other half. It depends on how big your food processor is. You may be able to do all of them at one time, and you may not. So it just depends on your food processor. That's it. Doesn't take long at all. Just take that off of there. Dump that in. Make sure you get all your mushrooms out. And because we're just gonna dump everything together, I don't clean out the food processor because it's all gonna be in the mushroom burgers anyway. So now we're gonna take our pepper. We're gonna take our pepper mixture with our onion and put it in the food processor. So when you put the mix, the onion pepper mix, don't put the herbs at the bottom. Try to put some of the chunky stuff at the bottom because we want it to mix up in there. So we're just gonna go ahead and put some pepper onion mix in the food processor. And we're going to, same thing, pulsate. Now what you will find that this is a beautiful mixture. It just looks absolutely delicious. I love the way it looks when it's in the food processor. Can you see it? So just coarsely chopped. So we're going to stick that in the bowl. And then we're going to do the last half of our pepper onion mix. And just pulsate. And pulsate means you don't hold it down, you just press lightly, press it, let go. Press it, let go. That's it. 3 or 4 times, that's all you need. And then we're just going to stick it in the bowl. And this is a little more, this batch was a little chunkier than the others. So the burgers, you're going to see the peppers and the onions, the chunks of peppers and onions in the burger. See that? Just beautiful. I'm going to just mix this up just a little bit. Just to get the peppers and the mushrooms mixed up together before I add my dry seasonings and my sea moss. So these are the steps that I use. I stir the mushrooms and the peppers up together. And then I get my sea moss. And what I did here is, this is thick sea moss gel, and I have 2 tablespoons of sea moss. And then just stir that up. And just remember, sea moss is like a liquid as well. Even if you use the thick paste, it's gonna make the mixture a little wet. So I'm just gonna stir that up in there. Now you're gonna have to get up close and personal with your mushroom burgers as well. And I'll show you what I mean in a minute. So I have 1 teaspoon of thyme, 2 tablespoons of onion powder or granulin onions or onion powder. I love onions, as you can tell. Onion powder, onions, it doesn't matter. I just love it all. So we're just going to stick that in there. I have a 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. If you like it spicy, you can always add more cayenne pepper, but beware. And just 1 teaspoon of sea salt. Now with the flour, I'm using, we talked about the garbanzo bean flour. So I'm starting with 1 cup of flour. I may not use the whole thing, but I'll show you why in a minute. So I'm just gonna stick this right here, but we're gonna stir this seasonings up in here because we wanna make sure that everything is mixed all up and these seasonings are infused in the mixture. I'm sorry. So we're just going to stir this up really well. And the good thing about, and I always say, the excellent thing about eating alkaline vegan is that you can always taste the food as you go along because there's nothing that's going to hurt you. It's all just fruit and vegetables. So as you go along, you can always taste it. Now remember I told you you're going to have to get up close and personal with your mushroom burgers? I put some gloves on because it's time to get up close and personal with your mushroom burger. So I'm going to add probably about half of the flour into the bowl. And then I'm going to get personal with my mushroom burgers. And you kind of know what consistency you want with your burger. If you want a little mushy like a tuna patty, I hate to say tuna patty, but if you want it mushy, you can not put as much flour. But I want my mushroom burgers to be a little firm. So I am going to use the rest of the flour, and I'm probably going to use some more flour. So you're just kind of mixing it up in there. And to me, this is still just a little too mushy for me. So I'm going to get some more flour to add to the mixture. So I have a 1/2 cup more of garbanzo bean flour, and I'm just going to dump the whole thing in there. And you can dump it in stages if you want. Just depends on how much flour and how dry you want your burgers. So I'm just going to make sure everything is mixed in there. Just mix it all up, get everything off the sides. And because I'm going to put this in the oven, I've already preheated my oven. And I still don't like the mixture of this. I want it to be just a tad bit more firm, but you could make your burgers out of this if you can see it. It'll form into a burger. So, but I just want a tad bit more flour into my mixture. And like I said, it's totally up to you what consistency you want your mushroom burger mix to be. So I have about a 1/4 cup more, and I think that's all I'm going to put in there. That should be the right consistency for me. Oh my. Like I said, just kind of get up close and personal with your mushroom burgers. If you don't have gloves, that's okay. Just make sure you wash your hands really well. Get up under those nails and then get up close and personal with your mushroom burgers. So this is a good consistency. So I'm just take everything off the gloves and prepare my cast iron griddle. This is my cast iron griddle. You can put this on the grill. It has the part where you do the grill marks or the flat part. So you can, this is how I make my mushroom burgers when I put it on the grill. So this is what I'm going to do is take the grapeseed oil and put it on the griddle, because we're going to stick this in the oven. And just kind of let it, just take your hands and get that oil all over this griddle. And I'm going to put it back in the oven so it can get hot. Now what this does is the same thing as a grill. Your burgers won't stick so bad to your griddle. So we're just gonna get that oil evenly distributed onto the cast iron griddle, and I'm going to place this in the oven. While I am waiting for the oven to get hot, I am going to go ahead and make my burgers up. So you can make them as small or as big as you want, and I'm going to put them on the wax partition paper. So I want my burgers medium. When I put them in the oven, they can be a little bigger because they're going to dry out. So like medium-sized burgers, and you can let that sit in there about 5 minutes or so. It's a cast iron skillet, so you know how that heats up. So I like medium to large burgers. And with the amount of mushrooms that I had, looks like I'm gonna have a fair amount of burgers, maybe 6 burgers. 6 nice sized burgers. And you can always place these burgers in the oven, in the freezer after they're done and cooled off, and just eat them for later, because I use the mushroom burgers as my to-go food a lot. Like if I'm going somewhere and I don't have anything prepared, the mushroom burger is always a good standby. So there you have it. I took the griddle out of the oven so I can place the mushroom burgers on top of the griddle and then place it back in the oven. You should hear the mushroom burgers sizzle a little bit because the cast iron skillet is still hot. And I'm just going to put this back in the oven and just make sure you evenly distribute the oil that's on the bottom of the cast iron skillet to get into all of the burgers. And then place it back in the oven, the bottom tray. Now we're going to let these burgers cook for about 5 to 10 minutes. Just check on them, because what's going to happen is the bottom is going to get brown, and then you're going to flip it and let it cook on the other side. And then just let the heat cook the burgers throughout. you can see, I flipped one burger and you can kind of see how it's brown. And these are the ones that are not flipped yet. So go ahead, flip your burgers. So it's been about 20 minutes or so and our mushroom burgers are done. So I took them out the oven and put them on the counter so they can cool off. They look absolutely delicious. I can't wait. Brown on both sides. And like I said, you can do this on the grill as well on a cast iron skillet and they make excellent burgers. As you can see, everything is done, and I even made a little sauce, and we'll talk about how to do that later. So, sorry guys, I'm hungry. I have to take a bite. This is delicious. See you next time. Sorry to talk with food in my mouth. It's so rude, but this is so good. Until next time, guys. Bye.